And at the peak of the pandemic, we witnessed that around the 8 million of the 20 million loan program for struggling small businesses has been dispersed, with 66% going to Manhattan-based shops. How would you ensure that Korean and other Asian small businesses in District 20 are equally aided by New York City Council and other state funding opportunities? We'll hear from Dao Yin first on this question.
About 23 years ago, I went to this country. My first task was learning English again in the Queen's College. I have a Korean classmate, a very handsome young man. He joked to me, "Hey, he say, you Chinese people you have so many businesses. You drive our Korean people outside of downtown Flushing." Okay, I remember. That's my style. I remember. I don't know the competition there, but I think Korean American, Chinese American, South Asian Americans, as ethnical, we all need to be treated equally by New York City aids. We are in the disadvantage because the language capacity, so we need more languages help. And also we can work together, we can work each other. This is way important because as far as I know, our community, I think most, if not all, a lot of Chinese small business, they lack of government aid because of various reasons. Even the level is below Korean community and India and South Asia community for a lot of reasons. So we need to improve this situation. We work together and to have it, more transparent. I think we can, for me, a Chinese business can hire Korean works, vice versa. Why not? Because we work together, we help each other. We made this country the leading country in the world. We don't discriminate any people just by color, skin color, and by ethnic background, by any religion. We treat the people evenly. Thank you.
As you know, I'm the executive director of the Greater Flushing Chamber of Commerce. I have been supporting and assisting businesses in the Korean community, in the Asian American community throughout the Flushing district for more than a decade, and have been able to secure millions of dollars to help with the assistance. So what I say is based on my experience actually accomplishing a lot to support the small businesses. One of the biggest challenges that our business community faces is the escalating rents and displacement from luxury developments in our community. I am the only candidate in District 20 that is pledged not to take any money from developers or special interest groups. I am only accountable to the people who live and work in District 20. I think this is really important because we have a political establishment that has been corrupted by millions of dollars being poured into our political system, into the contributions of candidates running for office, into community board members on Community Board 7, and even into elected officials who should know better than to take money from developers. And these decisions are detrimental. They are displacing our small business owners, our local residents, and destroying not only our local economy, but our environments. I have been vocally against the Special Flushing Waterfront District, which has violated city and state law by not doing an environmental impact statement. It is going to contribute to the 2 billion gallons in raw sewage that is poured into Flushing Creek and Flushing Bay. It is going to contribute to overcrowding in our schools because there's no school that is planned for that site. And I challenge my other fellow candidates to take a position on the Special Flushing Waterfront District, which will have such a devastating impact on our small business community.
District 20 was definitely one of the lowest amount of small businesses that got the loans. And I believe the issue really was a language access issue. By the time people in this community knew such funds existed and how to apply for it, the money was gone. And that's something in the future. Again, language access is my top priority. And that's why I said I'm going to advocate for SBS Center right here in Flushing. So when small business have issues, such as about applying for loans, applying for permits, about licensing issues, there's actually someone here who could speak their language, who could help them. And moreover, before COVID started, a lot of small businesses were also suffering by the enormous amount of fines they were facing and not enough help. So my proposal in City Council is to say, please give a warning first. Give a warning to small business. I believe most small businesses are working very hard to try to comply with the laws and regulations. So let's keep on changing all the time. And then city government, what we should do is we should be helping small business to comply with laws and regulations and not finding small business, finding them, because it's coming to a point where small business begin to see like the city government as a way of getting the dollars for the budget, which is not the way it should be. A city government should be seen as helpful and not punitive. And lastly, I'll add this: for any issues that come up that affect small business, such as the busway that's happening in Flushing, we really have to look at the effect of how that actually has affected small business. Because I have heard from many in the community that has hurt their business right now, and that's just like a really rough time right now with them recovering from COVID. Thank you.
Tell us about your visions and plans to proliferate and strengthen under-resourced and underfunded small to medium-sized Asian American nonprofit organizations that have been tirelessly working and effectively and efficiently serving this community.
I was an attorney. I was an attorney who worked for a small not-for-profit that worked with domestic violence victims. So something that's very dear to my heart. Not-for-profits that work with our Asian American community are really the lifelines for so many Asian Americans in this community. They're the place where people go to get any sort of assistance. So we have to really commit to funding for these Asian American CBOs that help our community, whether it's for women's victims of domestic violence, for seniors. And lastly, we got to think about how grants are given, how New York City grants are given. We need to target these grants to small and medium not-for-profits. And we got to make sure like the not-for-profits, the Asian American not-for-profits in New York City is equitable to the needs of the district. So for example, like I think someone has said before, District 20 actually had the highest amount of Chinese and Korean immigrants and seniors in the district. We do need these not-for-profits in this community. So I'm definitely here committing myself to say, if elected, I will make sure the Asian American not-for-profits that helped our community tirelessly all throughout these years will get the funding that they need and they deserve to make sure our community is safe going forward. Thank you.
As the executive director of the Greater Flushing Chamber of Commerce, I've actually secured funds for small nonprofit organizations in our community. And I'd like to point to the Neighborhood 360 program as a model for how we can actually support and proliferate small nonprofit organizations. The Neighborhood 360 is a new model that was developed by the New York City Department of Small Business Services to not only address issues challenging small businesses, but to actually get community stakeholders involved. So people from the chamber, people from the Flushing BID, business leaders were actually involved in developing the RFP that led to the grants. And then once the grant was awarded, the grantees were provided additional resources, development programs for their staff, and different types of resources to make sure that the organization's capacity was actually growing during the period of the grants. And that's something that I think is very unique in city government. We don't do enough to support small businesses. I have, again, small organizations. Again, I have a record of working with city agencies over the past 20 years to not only secure funding, but to actually support small and medium-sized community organizations that assist our businesses, that assist our community. Hopefully, as the next council member, I'll be able to work with CIDA and other organizations to incorporate this new model into other agencies. Thank you.
Yeah, as we rebuild from COVID, we must carefully allocate public resources, engage non-profit organizations and business alike. Um, as I said, we in our community we have the famous CPC, which receiving maybe over 1 billion, the aid from the government. But that doesn't mean we cannot have Asian called Asian not for small business organizations, which includes Chinese, Korean, South Asian, as Asian people as a resources. We can work each other. We can work out. As I say. Just for example, personally, I enjoyed Korean food here and there. Me and my family members, we are foodie. We love Korean food. I also, years ago, I always go to the Korean, the dry cleaning store like this one. Yeah, because you do good job, So that's why I think in the most diversity district as Flushing or Flushing Meadows, so with all the cultures, they all with the diversity, so we can work together like across. Is inclusive, never exclude. That's why I like the people say, at least you call me Asian American. You don't need to specify from China or from Korea or from India or from Pakistan. So my design is we can work out equally as Asian non-profit organizations. We can work together because each of us has strengths and weakness.
Please share your final thoughts on your plans and commitment on advancing social and economic opportunities for Korean and other Asian families in our community.
Mr. Jiang Choe was Mr. Jiang Lu's chief of staff. You see, we work together, Even John and I, we have some different opinions on some projects in Flushing, on some, even government regulation, like mid-time, while we work together. You see how many against Asian hate rallies. You see John, you see Dao. We work together. We are equally, we are Asian Americans, we are Americans. So no matter the result of June 22nd, we still work together for this community because our mission is the same. We make Flushing Meadows, Queens a better place to live. We care the quality of life for the people in this community. Thank you.
I want to say, I am someone who have the background of city, state, and federal government experience. I'm also an attorney by training. I have my advocacy background. I'm someone who also has lived in this community for over 30 years. Along with my parents, we have never left this community. And that's the reason why also I've been endorsed by a lot of elected officials in the community, including Congressmember Grace Meng, Council Member Peter Koo, State Senator Toby Stavisky, and also State Senator John Liu. I am committed to working with everybody to make sure that we fight for the funding, that we work as a team to get the best funding we have for this district and to get the policies that we deserve this district. Thank you very much.
I'm not going to give you a lot of promises or endorsements. I'm going to talk about what I have done for this community. Again, my track record speaks for itself. 20 years of experience in government, in the nonprofit sector, helping very closely the small businesses secure funds to help them with marketing assistance, with financial assistance, applying for loans to federal applications for PPP, working with Councilmember Liu at that time to enact the first language access law in New York, working with street safety advocates to build up infrastructure that improves the safety of our citizens and the safety of our essential workers. 150,000 essential workers use our buses, and there are people running in this district who don't think that's a priority, that we should not actually have good bus service for essential workers. I disagree. We need good transportation, we need good schools, we need good housing. I'm the only candidate that has pledged not to take money from real estate developers. I am not endorsed by the political machine that has controlled this community. I am going to be for the people, for the small businesses, for the local residents who are constantly being displaced by luxury developers. I look forward to working with you again. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. This wraps up the New York City Council member election, District 20 Meet the Candidates Forum. Tonight, we met and heard from John Choe, Sandra Ung, and Dao Yin in District 20. We thank you all for the candidates who participate in today's forum. We wish you the best of luck on the campaign trail. Good luck.